We have a new take on a classic holiday. Hi, I'm Alan Smith. Welcome to Garden Style, where we're always taking a look at unique ways to grow, cook, and design your world. Hey, today is all about the holidays. We've got some unique twists on some old traditional favorites that I think you're going to really enjoy seeing. In today's show, we'll begin with some tips for making your home greener, even when temperatures drop. Then it's off to the kitchen for some holiday fare. And a little later in the show, I'll show you how to create a picture-perfect tablescape by combining vintage and modern pieces. You're going to want to stick around for what's to come. Right after the break, I'll see you here. You know, for me, there's just nothing like fresh greenery in the house during the holidays. The aroma, well, it's incredible. But how do I use it? Well, I use it throughout the house, but there's some steps that I go through to make sure that it lasts as long as it possibly can while in the house, because after all, it doesn't last forever. It's not meant to. A couple of things to keep in mind. You want to make sure in the beginning that your greenery is as fresh as it can possibly be. For instance, you want to make sure that to the touch, that it's pliable and supple, that the needles don't break off and it's not brittle. It needs to have good, vibrant color, and it needs to have a really great aroma to it. The other thing you want to do, and this really works, is to deep soak that greenery before you use it in the house, at least the day before. So let's say you're cutting off limbs, and let's face it, I'll use everything, even those lower limbs on the Christmas tree. After I cut it off to size it to fit exactly into the house, those get used. I cut those limbs off, put them down in water. The water comes up and it hydrates all of that foliage, those boughs of greenery that you're going to use to create, well, displays like this. The other thing is that you want to keep it away from areas that are really hot or have direct sunlight once you have them in the house. I mean, think about it. If you use fresh greenery outside, it seems to last well into the new year and it looks perfect. But once you bring it in the house, because the air is so dry in our homes, the greenery dries out very quickly. You just want to make sure you have plenty on hand so you can touch it up or completely replace it at some point along the way. Now, another thing you can do to make sure that you seal that moisture inside the foliage is use an anti-transpirant. You can buy this at a local nursery by spraying the limbs, and this keeps the moisture concealed within the foliage. You probably get 4 to 5 more days use out of your greenery if you use an anti-transparent. Now, I hope these are some tips that are helpful to you. You know, I know that fresh greenery can be a little extra work, but the benefits, I mean, they just make your house smell and look so good for the holidays. Why not? And the thing about this stuff is that it's renewable. The trees are growing it, it's harvested sustainably. It's just having a greener Christmas. Think about it. Forcing bulbs to bloom indoors is a great way to have flowers in the house during the bleakest, coldest time of the year. Forcing jars come in many shapes and sizes, so be sure to account not only for the size of the bulb, but also for the final size of the flower when they're fully grown. Simply fill the bottom of the jar with glass beads or gravel for the bulb to rest on. Then pour water into the vase and adjust the water level so the water is close but not in direct contact with the bottom of the bulb. Move the forcing jar to a cool, dark place for the bulb to take root. When the foliage and buds are well developed, move the jar to a bright, sunny area where temperatures are near 65 degrees. Then make sure you move that beautiful bloom out of direct sunlight so it will prolong its blooming period. And enjoy! Stay with us. We're headed into the kitchen just after the break. A great old-fashioned tradition for the holidays is eggnog. Now, I don't know about you, but I love eggnog. When I was a kid, I craved it. It was one of my favorite things about the holidays. Well, what I have is a recipe that takes a much more sort of modern spin. For instance, if you have friends who can't do dairy, then this is the perfect solution, and it really is good. Now, we're going to start with some soy milk. In fact, 4 cups of soy milk. This recipe will make enough eggnog for 6 to 8 people, depending on how much they love eggnog. And then what I'm going to take is some extra firm tofu, and what you need here is 7 ounces of extra firm tofu. I'm just going to drop that in like this. A bit of splatter going on there, it's not a problem. This is going to make it really creamy. It's really good with the extra firm tofu. And then what you want to do to begin to flavor it is to use 7 tablespoons of maple syrup. And we're just getting started with the flavoring here. All right. Now the rest of the ingredients are going to really kick up the flavor quotient of this recipe, and they're all in teaspoon increments. For instance, we're going to take some vanilla extract, and I have 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract going in there. Next comes cinnamon, 1½ teaspoons of cinnamon, nutmeg, 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, 1/4 teaspoon of ground cloves, and 1/4 teaspoon of allspice. And I'll finish it off with 2/3 of a cup of amaretto. Now what you want to do is blend this until it's smooth and frothy. That looks about right. Now you can make this up ahead of time. It's really good. And you can see just how creamy this is. Let me just pour some out so you can see it. Look at that, very smooth. And tasty, really good. Now we're doing something a little different for this holiday season. Rather than turkey or ham, I'm actually cooking a couple of ducks. And what I'm doing here is I'm just taking out a few pin feathers that they missed during the processing of these birds. There we go, just take those out like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to crisscross the legs by just cutting a little bit of the skin here on the end. Then I just take the leg and tuck it through and cross it like that. Then you just take the other leg and tuck it under this one like that. I'll do the same here. Now, ducks are fatty, but a lot of this fat is going to cook off, and there's a lot of nice, delicious lean meat underneath that skin. So what we're going to do is I'm going to preheat the oven to 350. These birds are going to cook for 2 hours, but at the hour-and-a-half point, we're going to add this wonderful mandarin sauce to these that really gives them a great flavor. Now what I'm going to do is just take some salt and pepper and apply it all over the birds. This. Using some sea salt here and then cracked black pepper. This is really all you have to do with these birds. The flavor in the sauce will come at the end of the cooking. And once I get these birds in the oven, then we'll start working on that sauce. It's really good and doesn't take a lot of steps to prepare this. Okay, so I think we're in pretty good shape here. There's no need to apply any oil to these birds. We're ready to go. One of them there, and his leg back. The other one here. Now, I cut the tips of the wings off because there's really no nutritional value in those. There's very little meat, but this part is very good. These birds, by the way, are pecans. These are Long Island ducks. And pecans are a Chinese breed that were introduced in the 1870s. The breed that we raise here at the farm is one called an Aylesbury, an English duck that's older. It's a heritage bird, goes back to the 18th century. Okay, now what I'm going to do is just make a foil tent and place over the top of these ducks. I'm just going to wed these two pieces of foil like this, and then take the tent and just loosely apply it over the top of the birds. Like this. Yep, there we go. Keep some moisture in there. And now it's time to pop them in the oven. And they're ready to go. Now let's get to that mandarin sauce. This is a recipe that belongs to a friend of mine who makes this regularly. It's so delicious. In a blender or food processor, start with 2 small cans of mandarins, one drained of its juice and the other with the juice. And you want to blend this until the texture is smooth. Then in a small bowl, mix 4 tablespoons of cornstarch and just a little chicken stock until the cornstarch is fully dissolved. Next, go ahead and pour the remaining 6 cups of chicken stock, the cornstarch mixture, and 1 cup of orange juice and 4 tablespoons of lemon juice into a deep pot. Give that a good stir and add the rest of the ingredients, which will include 2 tablespoons each of honey, soy sauce, sugar, along with 4 teaspoons of grated ginger, then the mandarin puree. Stir the mixture over medium heat until the sauce boils and starts to thicken. All right, and look at those ducks. Aren't they beautiful? Now I've taken these out, like I said, about 30 minutes, even 40 minutes before they're completely finished. You can see there's still some fat that's come off of the ducks, which is fine. Most of it, a lot of fat has already come off of them. What I did is transferred them from that roasting pan into a baking dish. And now it's time to just apply this mandarin sauce. What you want to do while the ducks are hot is just apply this mandarin sauce all over them. Down in the cavity of the bird, all along the sides, just like this. Look at that, beautiful. All right, here we go. All right, so now they're ready to go back into the oven. I'm not going to tint them because I want the skin to be crispy. They'll go back in here for another, 30 to 40 minutes. Now these birds will be ready to come out of the oven just about the time my guests arrive. Coming up after the break, a vintage-inspired tablescape that's perfect for the holidays. Whenever I pull things together for a table, arranging it for a festive event or otherwise, I tend to like to mix things up a little bit, and that's what we've done here for this holiday arrangement or tablescape. What I've done with the dishes is I've used some vintage plates. These are from the 1820s to 1830s. It's the gold ring pattern, which is Paris porcelain, really old, but I've used these modern plates as a charger because it's the classic green. So we've started with a classic color theme here, using white and red and green with accents of gold. You can see the gold on the old china, and you can also see just a thread of gold in this ribbon. So you can see we're taking the best of the old and integrating it with some of the new. For instance, the glassware, well, these are brand new glasses. Actually, I bought them on sale, and then I've combined it with some of these decanters for some wine, which are really quite old, but they all mix and play well together on this table. Now let's talk about the centerpiece. You know, I always like to use fresh greenery, and to save time and to save effort, what I did is use some of these pre-arranged elements. And here in the center, I have what would go on a mantle, using it for a centerpiece. It's long and narrow. And then on either side, I have these traditional centerpieces that would be used in the center of a smaller table. But they're the perfect bookend or accent for this table. But to carry out this theme all the way across, I matched the ribbon under it. You can see here, all the way across. Then at each plate, that same motif and color theme is echoed all the way around, which sort of brings the table all together. So let's focus on the greenery for just a moment. These are in baskets, natural baskets, which blend with anything, so I don't need anything really fancy out here. The greenery is noble fir, western cedar, and some juniper, along with some holly that I gathered out of the garden. It's accented with pine cones and these red cannella berries, which really make it pop. Now I could certainly bump this up a little bit by adding some traditional glass balls in the same color theme, as well as some cranberries. Actually, they're wood beads that look like cranberries, and string those along through these arrangements. So as you can see, you can dress these themes up or dress them down. All I have to do now is just add some candles in the way of some of these tapers and some votives, and then bring out the food. The idea here is to maybe follow a conventional theme, but mix it up a little bit. And the main thing is to have some fun and enjoy your friends during the holiday. Holiday fun for a kid's room when we return. You know, the holidays is such a magical time for children, and what a fun way to decorate their room with fresh greenery. You know, take a look at this. If you can add a touch of whimsy in the way of a candy cane form or even a snowflake, and then decorate it with some fun, rustic, and casual pieces like some of these wood ornaments. You see, you can just work them into the greenery and the other natural elements that you already see here. You can pick them up at a craft store and just tuck them into the greenery like this. The great thing about going with a neutral theme like this is it'll work within any color scheme or decor in your home. Hey, the thing to keep in mind during the holidays is just to have some fun with this. Use your own imagination, come up with your own design. There's more garden style just after the break. Well, it's been a lot of fun taking a look at some old classics and putting a new spin on them. It's all the time we have for today's show, but I hope you've come away with some ideas that will help you grow, cook, and design your world, and particularly your holidays, in a much better way. Until next time, for Garden Style, I'm Alan Smith.